Jayashree Iyer, and I have been a consultant with Adhyayan for the last 2 years, a little more than 2 years. And before that, I've been, in different roles in different schools across the country. And my last tenure was with the Heritage Experiential Learning School in Gurgaon, where I was a part of the school leadership team, and also I was heading the middle school. With me today from Adhyayan is Neha, who's the director, and also we are supposed to be having Kavita, who is the founder and director. I don't know if she's joined us yet, but she'll be soon joining us. And we also have Gauri and Annette with us. And Gauri and Annette are our backbone, and they look after the tech and the logistics part of all that we do. And without them, none of our webinars or our online sessions would be possible at all. So that is the team from Adhyayan for today. And talking about the community of practice itself, this has been a platform for educators and school leaders, for the last 9 to 10 months, ever since the lockdown began and virtual learning has been in place. And on every fortnight on a Saturday afternoon, on this platform, we have educators and school leaders from across the globe. And I think we've had different people from about 12 or 13 countries so far. And what we've been doing is to discuss, talk, deliberate on issues that are of current needs in schools. So we've had sessions starting from tech tools to online pedagogy to online assessments and many more. And while I kind of just set the context for today, I would also quickly want to launch a poll for you. So just to kind of have a temperature check on what today's cohort really comprises. So here is the poll. We would like to know, where are you with respect to school reopening? So I hope you can all see the poll on your screens. So we have 5 options there for you. We invite you to click on the option that best is applicable to you. So while the poll is going on, so a little about the context for today's session. So, after about 9 or 10 months of online learning, online schools, today we are at a place where, all over the world, we are thinking of reopening schools. In some countries, they have indeed reopened schools. But they've been having different kinds of schools, partial reopening. Some of them have just kind of called in some children to school. And in the UK, we have schools that reopened in the midst of a pandemic, but again, they have gone into lockdown today. And in our own country, we've been going back and forth on this issue. We were almost going to reopen schools because the government had proposed that we can do it sometime in October, but then quickly backtracked when we saw that the cases were rising. And today there are people with different views, different perspectives on this. Some of us feel that, there is nothing to beat a physical school. While many of us feel, why can't we really wait because the vaccine is around the corner? Whereas some of us feel if virtual learning is, really working out and we've kind of adjusted ourselves to it, why not stick to it for a little longer till, parents and everybody is comfortable with sending their children to school. So, but however, what is, what we cannot kind of say no to is the physical school. So we'll have to some point in time, kind of be prepared to open the physical school, the brick and mortar school. However, going by what we've learned in the last 8 to 10 months is, there is a lot of benefit to online school and using technology in education. And so I think all of us are now kind of really looking at a blended learning option, which is obviously a combination of both online learning as well as, on face-to-face student-teacher interaction or student-student interaction in the physical space. So if we have to do that, where are we with respect to preparation? So I think, just coming back to our poll, I'm going to end polling because we have about 83% have voted, 25 out of 30 have voted. So I think most of us have voted. So I'm going to stop polling now and let us look at the results. So I'm going to share the results. So in our country, in this cohort today, we have some schools which have opened only for admin staff, which is about 32%. We have 24% of schools which have opened for admin as well as teachers. Yes. So we have had teachers coming in to schools and doing online classes from school. So we have got these kind of schools as well. We also have about 24% who have opened for students of board exam classes. And we have just about 4% who have not yet opened, and we have 16% who are not directly related to schools, so they say not applicable to me. So what I see is we are a mixed batch here today, though not yet open. Seems to be really very few of us who have schools who have not yet opened. But yes, sometime, some point in time, very soon, because it's already going to be 10 months, and the next 2 months we're going to be a year after school lockdown, and so we will have to get back to physical school. So, where are we with respect to blended learning? And if we have to really prepare for a blended school, we'll have to look at preparation in a different way, because it's going to be online as well as physical for the children. So I'm going to now kind of invite you to think a little about what kind of preparation would you have to do if you had to transform your school into a blended school. So since we are at that juncture where we have to now prepare for school reopening and have blended school, so let's pause and think about what kind of preparation would be required for this. And for this, what we are going to do is, there is a Mentimeter link which you can see on the screen. Annette, have you put it in the chat? I would request Annette to put this link on the chat. And we invite each one of you to go on to this Mentimeter and type in your thoughts as to what kind of preparation do you think will be required to transform your school into a blended school. Give me a moment. I'm trying to present the Mentimeter slide to you. It's taking a little while. Yes, there you go. I hope you can see it. Yeah, we've got some very useful inputs there. We need to have a different type of teacher training. We need to have devices for all students. We need to reallocate our spaces. We need technological infrastructure. Yes. Hmm. Yeah, some very great inputs there. Okay. So, yeah, a variety of inputs there. Yes, and it does look like we need to do a lot of preparation. However, when I look at these on the screen, we have a space reallocation, we have technological infrastructure, We have devices for all students. We have sanitization for batches in time and timetable and neck packs. Yes, so all of these, if you see, would come under one bucket, and I would like to call it infrastructure and resources. I also see teachers should be trained. We need equip educators for online learning and assessment tools, reallocate. Okay, so all of this probably comes under teaching and learning, teacher professional development, pedagogy, how to do classes, both online as well as in the virtual, in the real space. So all of that probably comes under teaching and learning. We have parent cooperation, absolutely, really, really important. So that comes under, parent community, how we keep other stakeholders other than, teachers, like parents and the community in sync with us. So that is another whole entire bucket. Then uh, virtual learning, okay, that also comes under teacher training. Okay, so if you see, um, so these are different aspects of running a school. And just like a physical school, where we have different aspects like, infrastructure and resources, we have teacher training, we have teaching and learning, and so many other, key aspects of running a school. Similarly, we will have to look at the similar probably details, but through a different lens when we look at a blended school. um, Give me a minute. Yeah. So if you really look at this, different aspects of running a school, so it would be something like, for those of you who are already, familiar with the 6 key performance areas of Adhyayan for a school review, we have these 6 key performance areas. And for others, for the benefit of others, the 6 key performance areas are infrastructure and resources, teaching and learning, leadership and management, community and partnerships, curriculum, and the child. So in the same way, just even for a blended school, we would have the same 6 KPAs, but through the lens of both online as well as physical classrooms. So some of with the some of the inputs that we got from you were all again based under these, could all be put under these same brackets. So what we thought was, if you have to really look at how to prepare for a blended school, so take up each one of these key performance areas and really kind of go into the depth of each one through each one of our sessions starting today for 6 sessions, and really come out with what would really good infrastructure and resources look like for a blended school. Similarly, what would good leadership and management look like for a blended school, and so on. So that is how we've started with infrastructure and resources today. And um, in the physical space, for those of us who are again familiar with the Adhyayan School Review, what good looks like for infrastructure and resources is something like this. So what I would request you to do is take a minute, go through this on your screen for what good looks like for infrastructure and resources in a physical school. And please, while going through it, I would request you to be very, very aware of what are some of those key words of terms or phrases that jump out to you, and keep that in mind. And we will have a quick conversation around that after a minute. So for those of you who have finished, I invite you to quickly put your thoughts in the chat. What are some of the important aspects of infrastructure and resources that you came across in this that you just now read, please put it on the chat. Yeah, classrooms, corridors to be cleaned, health and safety, hygiene, health, safety, well maintained, welcoming environment, books and materials. Yeah, safe and clean environment, well resourced. Great, some great inputs there. So, if this is what good infrastructure and resources looks like for a brick and mortar school, what would be different or what would have to be added on if we need to look at good infrastructure and resources for a blended school? So, let's spend a minute. Again, go back to our Mentimeter, and we have another slide for you where you could use just keywords for this second question. Yeah. So, what would good infrastructure and resources look like in a blended school? I invite you to just type in some keywords that come to your mind. Are you able to see my screen? Are you able to type in the Mentimeter?
Is it the same Mentimeter, Jashri?
It's the same Mentimeter, but it's a different slide I have presented, Kavita. Yeah, now I can see something coming up.
Okay.
Are you not able to see?
No, I think it was just that one has to go back to the chat to click on it again.
Right, yes. Yeah, health and safety, technological resources, updated technology. Yes, some very important inputs coming up. So blended school is a combination of online as well as physical school. So trained teachers, safe, okay. So we are talking about just infrastructure and resources for a blended school. Books, yeah, which comes under resources. So we have books as well as online, both resources. Technology resources as well as books and okay. The environment should be friendly, okay. We need to have devices for everybody. We need to have masks, yes. We need to have sanitizers, yes. The classroom design has to be looked into, yes. We need to have softwares for assessments, yes, of course. So yes, some very, very important inputs there. So if I have to now really, see what are some important resources, what would some good infrastructure and resources for a blended school look like, then it is, sorry. So if we could again put them in some important brackets, and they would be like something like, hygiene, could be hygiene, It could be, again, safety. It could be resources. It could be, somebody said, how do we do the classroom design? So it could be about space utilization. It could also be about how children come and go back home, to and fro, coming to school and going back home. So it's about the arrival and dispersal, how we are going to monitor that and what arrangements we are going to do for that. So, these are some broad buckets that we can divide infrastructure and resources into. So, for example, the first one, hygiene. So, when you talk about sanitizers, when you talk about masks, monitoring if children are wearing, so how do you see that children and even other members of your school keep sanitizing their hands? And what about what are the facilities that you're going to have in your toilets for this kind of sanitization? So all of these probably will come, and many more, of course, will come under hygiene. So we've got these broad 5 buckets, which says hygiene, and then it says resources, where you have all your online as well as physical resources. Then you have space utilization. How are we going to have the space in your school utilized so that social distancing is maintained? What about arrival and dispersal, and what about safety? So how is it that you're going to really handle safety in terms of health as well as physical safety with respect to other things? I know when children go out, come in. So how are you going to handle that? So we've got these 5 buckets. So is there anything else that you would want to add on to this? So can we just take half a minute to think if we can add one more bucket or anything more that you want to add on to this? So what we will be now doing is we'll be getting divided into breakout rooms. So each breakout room will get one of these buckets, and we're going to be having a Jamboard for you. We will give you the link, and in your breakout room, if one person can be the scribe and put down all that you discuss for the topic that you get in your breakout room. So I think Neha will help us in getting into breakout rooms. So depending on the participants, Neha, so how many breakout rooms do we have?
Yeah, so I can open the breakout rooms. We have 7 breakout rooms. The names are there on it. And if we can put the Jamboard on chat, the link is available on chat for everyone. So if we are, we can open it and also add to it. But we would request that in every group, at least one person is able to make sure that all what is discussed is put in there. If everybody can open it and do it within that group while discussing and putting it there, it will be great. But it will be useful if whatever has been discussed is there. Okay. So I'm going to open the breakout room. You will get an invite to it. So please move in there. Jayashree, can you see people going in the rooms? There have been some people who've joined in later and just assigning them. Has everybody gone? No. So, हाँ जयश्री. So anybody who's joined in right now, I'm just going to assign you. There are breakout rooms and there's conversation happening in the breakout rooms. So you can just join the breakout rooms, okay? I had assigned rooms to you, Pankaj, Megha, Rachna. You haven't been able to accept that?
I'm having a problem in connecting. That's why I'm just stuck. I'll get back to it. Yes.
Okay.
Again, I'm breaking off and then coming back in. So that's why I'm not doing it.
I see. Doesn't matter.
Just carry on. I'll do that.
Yeah, anyway, when they come back, you'll be able to
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, Jayashree, all are back in.
Great. So, at least in our room, we had a very good discussion and a lot of inputs from all our participants. I hope everybody had some enriching discussion in your rooms. So, what we thought was we could quickly kind of share what we did in our rooms. So, we'll have something like a gallery walk. So, Neha, if you could, you have given permission for sharing, haven't you? Yeah, okay, fine. So, breakout room number 1, if you could share your screen, and the person who scribed, if you could just quickly take a minute to help us understand what you discussed and what are the key words or key phrases that you've come up with for your topic.
That's for hygiene, basically.
Yeah, that's hygiene, I think, yes. So request you to share your screen.
Anybody from this team, Nandini or Asha, would any of you like to go? I've shared the screen.
I can't see it.
Oh.
Yes, I'm able to see it actually.
You're able to see?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why am I not able to see?
No, it's visible.
Maybe there's something.
Just a minute.
Uh,
yeah, I'm able to see now.
Go ahead, Anjali.
Yeah. Would one of you like to share what we discussed? Is my group back?
Yeah. Okay, I would share if that's okay with everyone. So in our group, which looked at hygiene, there was quite a lot of focus on the use of the sanitizer, and we thought of different things with regard to the sanitizer. For instance, placing more of them at the entrance of the school. Placing sanitizers in strategic locations all over the school, having a schedule for making sure that surfaces in corridors as well as classrooms are sanitized. We also had this idea that there should be a mandatory use of masks, of course, and that students should be responsible for their own masks, but the school should also have a supply of them, because students being students, they'll drop them or forget them or pretend they don't have them, whatever. So the school should also have a supply of masks to be able to provide when students need them. And then we also talked about having enough soap, of course, in the toilets, and having a schedule for disinfecting and cleaning washrooms, with possibly, like in some airports, you have, this washroom was cleaned 2 hours ago, so that everybody is aware of, when it was last disinfected. We also thought that it's important to have awareness about hygiene, and do that regularly, and actually rope in students themselves, because peers listen more to each other than they do to teachers generally, or adults. So have students themselves come up with fun ways to remind each other of the importance of hygiene at this time. So make videos, make posters, but get student involvement, and also possibly have students check each other to ensure hygiene is that there is hygiene in the school environment. So that's to sum up basically what we talked about. We also felt there's a bit of an overlap between hygiene and safety, so we weren't very sure. But yeah, that's to sum up.
Thank you, Nandini. Yeah, that's quite detailed, I think, and very good discussion we can see. The next group, if we could have the resources group sharing, the group which worked on resources.
Sure. So we worked on resources, and in my group there were 5 of us. So I'd like to share my screen and would invite if anyone would like to discuss about what we discussed. Or
Yes, Nidhi, you could share your screen then.
Sure. Would anyone from the team like to share, or probably if I can go ahead, if that's okay?
Go ahead, Nandini. So,
all right. So while discussing resources, at the beginning only, there was this discussion where we said there are a lot of things that would overlap with hygiene and safety. So when we spoke about sanitizers and masks being available in the school at all times, we discussed that it would definitely come under hygiene and would come under safety as well. We discussed that there should be a variety of online and offline books available, proper bandwidth of internet for both teachers and students so that learning is not hampered, devices for both teachers and students. And we also discussed that somewhere there's a need to procure and buy certain platforms like Zoom. You need access to do certain things, because if it's an unpaid version, it allows you to schedule calls for only 40 minutes. And similarly, few tools maybe for assessment if that's the need. And we also discussed that we should have a proper bank of the teaching and learning resources that probably there can be a pool of resources that all of us are using. So that's it from our side. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you, Nidhi. So can we have the next group, which is space utilization? My group, that is, yeah. Stuti, could you share your screen? And if anybody else wants to speak, you're most welcome. Yeah. Yes, Stuti, you want to go?
Hello, I'm Prabha. Can I go ahead with space utilization?
Yeah, please, Prabha, yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Sorry, I was on mute and I kept speaking. I'm really sorry.
Okay,
yes,
because that's why. Yes, Stuti, would you like to go ahead or let me continue?
No, you can begin, please. I'll join in if.
Okay, thank you. First and foremost, we thought of having a timetable with the details of various rooms used, because there will be more number of rooms required for students. That is a very detailed timetable with the names of the rooms, and also a lot of outdoor spaces also. The halls which are there, auditorium, library, if it is not used now for any other thing, we can convert them into classrooms with a little partition done, so that gives spacing of students. Staggered recess is one thing what we thought of, because there will be more and more students coming out and going to restrooms or canteen. That will also one concern area. So staggered recess for different classrooms. And some schools where they don't have enough space, they can reach out to community centers or places which community gives for the utilization.
If I may join in?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, okay. So the basic premise was, what's the space available in the school? We looked at two factors here, depending on the size of the rooms that were there and the number of students. So there were a lot of discussion on how to optimize the space utilization, and there was an interesting input of restrooms, because restrooms are limited spaces in the school. So how do you roster it? How do you maintain it? So again, it will definitely be a part of hygiene as well and safety as well, but a basic framework of maybe having more detailed rosters, timetable that allows for maximum utilization of all the spaces in the school, whether they are activity rooms, libraries, labs, etc. Outdoor spaces where we can have no contact sports as well as classes conducted. And if we have students, limited space in the school or more students, we could run the school in batches to optimize the use of space so that most students are able to avail the facilities which are there in school. As it was pointed out by one of the members that, some of them do lack the basic amenities to connect to a classroom. Also, in case of blended learning that would go out, we need to look at what sort of, again, it ties up with resources. So what sort of resource and how the space is utilized so that the class that is physically happening in a school space can be streamed live back into the class so that the children who are sitting at home do not miss out on it either. So these are the things that we were discussing and looking at for space utilization. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Prabha, and thank you, Stuti. Yeah, the next group, arrival and dispersal.
Okay, I'll share the screen, but Sudha, can you do the sharing of what the discussion was?
Sure, I'll do that. Yeah.
Yeah. Oops. All right.
That's so we were given the category of arrival and dispersal. So what we discussed and we came as we allow only like we have a time-stamped entry tickets for walking kids in, so that we allow only few kids at a time, and the entry is there on the stamp as well. For buses, in case they're using the school transport, we'll have different classes on different days. Of course, we'll not be calling the entire school, or we won't be calling all the kids at a time. So then if you're calling only 20 kids in a class, so we could find out how many of them actually use the school transport, and then we could work it out. Getting half a class on one day, and I think this was discussed in the other groups as well, and staggered timings and staggered batches for different classes. We also thought there should be SOPs for the teachers as well. Would refrain if they could use public transport, and then one of us came up with the option that we try and call teachers who live nearby, so that, and who don't solely depend on public transport, so then they could come, and those who slowly depend on public transport could continue with online teaching. And of course, there could be signages even at the gate, because once the kids leave the school premises, they're all excited. So everybody, they even think of removing their mask, and there's no social distancing maintained. So if that could be there, and have temperature checks and sanitizers at the gate as well, entry and exit points. Even for dispersal, you allow only one kid from the stairs at a time, and you don't allow everybody coming down together. So you maintain social distancing as well. Kavita, is there anything else that I've missed out?
No, can we check with the rest of the group? Anything else that to be added? I think everybody felt in the group that it wasn't going to be simple. It's quite a tough job, but yeah.
Thank you, Sudha and Kavita. And the last group, I think, is safety, health and safety.
So I was the scribe for the group, but if anyone else from my group would like to present what we discussed.
It would be nice you just go ahead with that.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
So we did talk about how, there are certain things that we need for safety, which may not be possible for all schools to provide, but some of them are actually non-negotiable. So like, for instance, we spoke about, an area to quarantine kids who might be diagnosed with an infection, or even until you get the COVID test, if they have any kind of symptoms. So we were talking about how difficult it might be for some schools to even provide that dedicated space for quarantining, but it seems to be a non-negotiable. Preferably having either, if not an in-house doctor, at least a trained nurse, and depending on the size of the school, one nurse may not be enough. Likewise, we felt that this bit was very important, probably reiterating these two, not just reiterating the protocols, but also educating parents and children about health and safety protocols so that everybody is aware of them. One of our team members suggested even things like maybe immunity boosting supplements and food for students. Seating arrangements during recess, particularly to protect students, so that they are not too much in contact with each other. That was a slight point of, what is the purpose of school really? If kids cannot even play with each other. But we live in strange times. Cross ventilation in the school so that we are not dependent on air conditioning. Now, again, this is more in some schools may not be able to provide this for whatever reason, but as far as transport is concerned, sanitization of buses is again a non-negotiable, but we were talking about how about the kids who come in vans? How does the school ensure these things? And, even if you have contract buses, how do you ensure sanitization with a third party? So we didn't really have any solutions, but we had a lot of questions.
Yes, thank you, Neeta. And yes, as you said, these are strange times. We just have questions, no straightforward answers. And so I think the only way is again for people, educators and school leaders to come together and talk and discuss and come out with solutions which might help us. So thank you for that. So now just going back to that, what good looks like, which we saw in the beginning of the session for a physical school. At this point in time, toward the end of the session, we should be able to kind of, for ourselves, chalk out what good looks like for infrastructure in a blended school, because we've now kind of had a deep dive into what it would be and into different aspects of infrastructure and resources itself. And so for your own schools, when you're preparing for a blended school, so I think when you're looking at infrastructure and resources, so you should be able to look at what are all the different tiny little things that come all together to create good infrastructure. So Kavita, you want to add on something? Neha, you want to add on something to this?
Yeah, I think that the issue of technology is going to become bigger, which needs to, I think, be more focused on in terms of infrastructure, because this is going to require different kinds of ways of teachers being able to reach both face-to-face and online children at the same time, and that's not easy. I think that's the biggest question. I'm sure that technology companies are working towards something like that. That will definitely. But the fact that we've been able to do this session on the Jamboard, where different people can work together at the same time and really put their thoughts together. It's that sort of technology that will have to be used. So when we talk of tech, I think it needs to be very clear to people that it's not about iPads and laptops, and it's really about the sort of spaces like the Jamboard provides that enables teaching and learning to happen in a way that's different and interesting and worth doing. So I guess that's one thing that we could have a greater focus on, and maybe that's something that we can all put our minds together and send in to you, Jayashree, so that you can collate that and send it out to all of us. Maybe that's something that can come in afterwards as a Padlet or something.
Yeah, sure. Neeta, I see you raised your hand. You had something to share.
I wanted to add to what Kavita says. I think the biggest piece here in blended learning, because the this hybrid learning, the reopening schools, all these protocols have been discussed before regarding health and safety and stuff. But the biggest challenge is going to be the teaching and learning bit. and how teachers are going to plan their lesson. I mean, that is the area in which I think teachers need the maximum amount of professional development, because it's not easy to teach to one group that is here. You'll have to just design your lesson plans so intentionally that you reach all students. And as it is, even in a classroom where everyone's present, or in a classroom on Zoom, that's not easy to manage. So this is the biggest challenge.
Get that, yes. So yeah, so it is about not just about infrastructure and sanitation and keeping children safe. It is also about, as leaders, looking at our academic commitment. It is about how teachers are going to be able to, how are they going to be ready to take on this, and again a lot of stuff. So it's it's a new challenge again in front of us. So any closing thought? Anybody? I welcome anybody to just kind of share a closing thought before we go on to getting your feedback about today's session. So for the feedback, we have a Padlet. And can I request Annette to put the Padlet link on the chat if possible? And
So
when
I
we
think
have, while we have a
Annette will-
closing thought from any one participant.
Yeah, and just to let you know that we're doing teaching and learning in the next session. So, we are talking about the big piece being on teaching and learning. So on 23rd Jan, that's what would be the focus.
Yes, thanks Neha for that. So we will be having the other 5 KPAs in the 5 consecutive sessions every fortnight on Saturdays. So please do join us. And
Yeah, so Geeta, we can at that time I think get a little more into the whole planning of what would a lesson plan look like for that, and that's going to be the focus. So
Yes.
yeah, I think Jeshi, I think this is great to be able to think through, and also for like Neeta has identified planning in teaching and learning. Maybe we can have, like, for everybody over here, there were about a total of 40 people at one point. Those who can send in what their big question would be, what would they like to think through for teaching and learning, would be great. Because Neeta's identified one aspect. If all of us in the room can think about what is it that's their biggest challenge and send that into you in advance of the 23rd.
So we could do this by creating a Padlet. It's about just sharing the link, right? Can we do that on in the email that we sent you after this? I mean, if you can all receive an email with the Padlet link.
Yeah,
where for teaching and learning, and all the questions and aspects that we want to discuss would come into that. That would be very useful, and very meaningful.
So I have put the Padlet link on the chat.
For the feedback.
For the feedback. If you could open this link and get onto the Padlet and put in your feedback on what went well for you today and what could have been better. So both, we would like to have your thoughts on both of these. So in the meanwhile, before we close, if anybody is free, if you want to chat, you're free to unmute yourself and please speak whatever you want. If you have a question, if you want to share any closing thoughts, you're most welcome.
Hello, this is Nishi. I would like to say that regarding the hygiene, there was one point which was mentioned where the students learn from their peers. That was a wonderful idea, that they would understand it better. And big challenge is when the footfall is more in the school, then howsoever bigger places, creating spaces is actually, we really have to brainstorm, and then optimizing the teachers, so that teachers are also not, getting tired by moving from one class to the other, because in smaller groups, they are repeating the same thing in the offline teaching. So working on that.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Nishi.
I completely agree, Nishi. I think it's important to think about what is there in small schools, big schools, rural schools, urban schools. What's the difference? Because like in rural schools, transport, like for example, I was talking to the Samagra Shiksha person in Tripura, and he said our schools are running, our secondary schools are running. And they don't have a problem because he said it's Tripura, it's like the number of people themselves are low, and it's like rural So it is totally a different experience for them as against an intensely populated city like Delhi, Lucknow, Mumbai. It's very different. So it's a useful thing to think of maybe when we're talking about teaching and learning, to think about what will happen. And it's very interesting because the advantage of the pandemic has been that our repertoire of lesson plans, including different ways of reaching students, has really grown. But has that grown for rural spaces? I'm not so sure. And does that mean that the digital divide is going to get even worse? Because of our situation in these cities, we've all been picking up skills that the children in rural India are not picking up at all. And is that going to get even worse for them, as we go along? So I think these are big questions for all of us, but it's very useful to think of all. Thanks for that.
I hope all of you have been able to get onto the Padlet.
Pankaj, you have raised your hand. Go ahead. Okay.
Yeah, hi. So I've been listening to everything bits and pieces because I've been out of range in and out. But what I feel is there is a lot more that what we imagine in terms of, I feel, in the rural areas. But I think because of the connectivity which is now generated in this particular time, suddenly, a lot of children have actually got down to being accessible to a lot of information which we did not imagine would be possible for them.
Yeah.
So I think that is something which is fairly important, and it really helps. Like, I'm totally in the wilderness, and I'm here in a particular. I just came down to a particular school to check on them, and somehow, and it's a preschool, one of those sarkari schools, and I realized that these children and their parents they know that this is what the new age is requiring, and they are moving towards it. I come here to give them. Sometimes I come here to give them some access to mobile phones. We have a group which donates mobile phones, and these children most of them have them, and they have their access to various digital methods of learning. So I think just by saying that they won't have it, I think most of them do. Yes, there are certain areas I'm quite sure which I'm not aware of, like in where it is actually very, very where the BPL level is very high. So I guess that there we do have a problem. But here I see there's not much problem, and there's been that divide between the haves and the have-nots in terms of technology is quite limited, because even a 4,000 or 5,000 rupees phone is more or less doing the job of maybe $1.5 lakh phone or a laptop. So yes, I think if we just look into it, there is a lot more the children can, the parents also can deliver, and sometimes giving them some kind of incentives, which we are doing in certain areas here. So we say, okay, work for it. We'll pay you for it. In terms of a mobile phone or something like that. So they are doing a lot of work, and this kind of technology is allowing us to shorten the divide. Somehow I feel that particular the information age, I think we should kind of look into it, and to help us more being in the rural areas.
Yeah, definitely. I think that especially Himachal, because it's got a fantastic internet, across the state, as against Tripura, which almost has no data. So that's the other issue, and I think that's is noticeable about Himachal.
Yeah. So nice. I was very happy with what was happening and what the kind of learning which we had. Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah. So let's look at that for teaching and learning the next time that we are getting together, and think of the kind of lesson plans that we would have to have for every child to get reached and nobody to get left out. And I think that's the plan for next time. So looking forward. Yeah. Thank you, Jayesh.
Thank you, Kavita, and thank you, everyone. Thanks for participating, and hope to see you all again for the next session as well. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.